Hello! Welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. This is episode 122, and it is the middle of February year 2024. I am coming to you from a beautiful, chilly but sunny winter day in Minnesota, where I live with my husband and our two young children. I have a bit of things to show you today: crochet, sewn, knitting, a lot of cooking and baking. I do have reading to share with you today as well. If you are new here, the way I organize my videos is in the beginning there is usually a vlog that is under 5 minutes of scenes from whenever the last time is that I recorded, and then we go into an intro and welcome section, and then finished projects, works in progress, eats and reads, and a food for thought. The food for thought section is generally something that has been on my mind, in my heart, something I wish to share with you, and it's usually making related, but more life related in general, and sometimes there is a question for you to answer and share if it is something you would like to participate in. I do have show notes included for every episode. It is in the description box below the video. Sometimes you have to click on show more. I also include closed captioning, so you can click the CC button. If I speak too fast or too slow for your preferences, YouTube allows you to adjust the speed in settings. I use Ravelry for all of my project pages, and so that will be linked also in the description box below the video, along with the links to designers, makers, and things like that that I talk about. I have forgotten to mention in the previous episodes that I am currently hosting my very first Make Along. It is the Make It Again MAL 2024. That is the hashtag. It should be up on the screen. I am running it from the beginning of January through the end of March, and works in progress are all allowed. You don't have to finish anything. The details for the Make Along are in a little episode here up on YouTube, and I will link to it in the description box below this video. Before we jump into finished projects, I would like to share with you what I am wearing today. This is a Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. It is a paid-for pattern with a very wide size range from baby through, I can't remember what the largest adult size is, but it has the whole range. And I did modify this a little bit. I added short rows in the neckline section, which is not in the pattern. I did do the body length, probably double the length of what is in the pattern. Pattern comes in a cropped length and slightly longer, but I wanted it full length. And it has this beautiful lace yoke patterning in the front. I used Linen Quill Bright Flamingo, which is a fingering weight yarn held with a it's an alpaca yarn that is now discontinued. That is by Knit Picks. It is a very fluffy yarn, and I love this sweater. It is light, it is airy, it is drapey, it is easy to wear, and it is so cheerful, and I just felt the need to wear this today. I have paired it with some glass beaded earrings by Mayana Designs. These are made by women in Colombia. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer so hopefully you can see it. I think the colors are so cheerful. It is supposed to mimic knitting in the square section, and then there's this fringe on the bottom. I think they are so much fun to wear, and yeah, that is my very cheerful outfit today. The first finished project I'm going to share with you today are a pair of socks that I was knitting for our 5th grader last time, and these are her Valentine's Day socks, and here they are. I think these socks are just so delightful, and oh, I forgot my yarn tag. I'll be right back. So the yarn I used is Zauberball, and this yarn my daughter had picked out on her own from a local to Minnesota yarn shop. It is a light fingering weight yarn. The tag is cool because it shows you what the gradient looks like when knit up. Hopefully it is in focus so you can see that gradient. The yarn is a 75-25 superwash wool and a biodegradable polyamide, which is like a nylon. And I have quite a bit of yarn remaining, which I plan to hold double with another yarn to create DK weight socks. I have, I think, 51 grams remaining, which is perfect for holding with another light fingering weight yarn. So the amount of yarn I used was 43 grams. Here are the socks again. And I cast on 56 stitches on a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. So I love how these turned out. Fortunately, she loves them too. It kind of reminds me of like conversation heart candies, but I just love how the yarn marls and fades. It's so pretty. So yes, she loves these socks, and I was actually surprised that I had them to share with you today, but I think it's because I just did laundry. They've already been worn, and so I haven't put the wool laundry away yet, and so that's why she didn't end up wearing them today. But I'm sure they will be on her feet as soon as they are back in her dresser. The next finished project I will share with you today is, I think, one that I was almost done with last time. It is a shawl that I was crocheting for our daughter. So I had shared with you one last time that I made for our 5th grader. And this is the one for our 2nd grader. They both love to read and snuggle up and get all cozy. And the thing with blankets is they can be kind of cumbersome when you're trying to like drape them over you or like make sure you can still read. And so I had made these reading shawls for them. And here it is. This is off of a free pattern, and I used a 4 millimeter crochet hook for this one, and all the yarn is remaining from previous projects. There is fingering weight held double, there's DK weight, there's light worsted weight, and I love how it turned out. This one reminds me of sunlight coming through like a forest and like little fairy gardens, and how the sun will shine through and you'll see like the dust in the air, and I love it. I love it so much. She has not seen it yet, so I'm so excited to surprise her with it. This one I used 417 grams of yarn total, and it is plenty big for her to drape over her shoulders because it drapes over mine just fine. I'm going to stand up, maybe I can be seen a little bit better as far as the size goes. And yeah, I think she's gonna really like it. She can also wear it more like a cowl or a shawl, like in the front, like a scarf. If she would like to do that, it is so cozy like this. And it's very soft. Most of the yarns are all superwash merino nylon blends if there's sock yarns, or they're just 100% superwash merino. So yeah, I'm very excited to gift this to her. I know she's going to be so excited. February is I Love to Read month, and it's being celebrated at school where the kids log their hours on how many minutes they read per day. And the kids have been, well, the kids are always, my kids read every day, but it's just fun to have a whole month dedicated to reading. That brings me to another finished project, which is a sewn item. One of them, I think one of them is still here. Let me go grab it real quick. The other child, I think, brought hers with her in her backpack to school. I'll be right back. So I have made my kids a lot of these, what do you call them? Book cozies. And it's to protect their books when they are being jostled around in their backpacks. And so it's also really fun to have. I have made several of them in many different themes, mostly seasonal, but some of them, well, so the 5th grader was reading a series of books that had to do with Magical Dresses. I can't remember what the series was called, but I had this fabric on hand that had like sewing machines. It was like a sewing theme, and it was in a cotton flannel. So I had made her that one to kind of go with that series of books. And she had read some other like magical ones, so I had this like magical fabric, and that worked for that. But anyway, so this one is for our second grader, and it has these cute little forest animals on it. It says Sweet Forest, and the inside has a watercolor heart print. You know what? It's actually kind of reversible. There's the open seam, or not open seam, the part where I sewed it together on the very bottom is visible, but it's really not that big of a deal. So it can be reversible. I do include like a little wrist strap that I use to write their name on, because it's going to school and everything needs to be labeled with a name. So it does have this cotton ribbon on it that I have their name written on, but it can be reversible. That part can be on the inside. So then she has this watercolor fabric on the reverse. So it's really nice. There are tons of different tutorials online, so if you are interested in making one, it's also super easy. I do use fusible fleece on the inside in between. You could use quilt batting, you could use, well, there's lots of other options if you wanted to. And I just use the fusible fleece because that's what I have. If you decide you want to like quilt it, you could also do that. Yeah, but they're also easy to wash. I don't think I've had to wash any of them yet, but I know sometimes backpacks can get kind of gross. So you could wash it, I think, if you really wanted to, but I've never had to wash any of them yet. So I've made a few of these recently. Since I got onto sewing, I wanted to show you one more sewing item that I made recently. My brother has been making a lot of bread. He's been experimenting a lot with sourdough and just bread baking in general. And so we are often trading food back and forth every time we make something, like I had mentioned in previous episodes. But he was running out of kitchen towels because he was exchanging bread and stuff with me through all these kitchen towels. And so he said, "Hey Steph, do you think you could make me some like reusable bread bags?" And so I happen to have some linen and linen cotton fabric on hand that were scraps from garments that I had made, from dresses that I had sewn. And so I was trying to very strategically cut out like biggest piece of rectangle fabric that I could from these scraps. And I just eked out like the most I could out of every single one. And I made up some drawstring bread bags, and he said they're great. Some of them are better suited for baguettes because they're kind of this like long skinny shape. But again, I was limited by the fabric that I had. So I've kept one and I gave him 4. Hopefully I'll insert some pictures here on the screen so you can see what they look like. And here is one. I'm going to be careful not to jiggle it too much because the bread is still wrapped in parchment paper inside. And so it's a little bit crinkly, and I know the crinkle can bother some people. So yes, it is a drawstring bag, and it's a little bit longer so that it can also be tucked underneath while sitting on the counter. But yeah, so it has been fun to have some of these bags on hand and something that we can just wash and reuse. I mean, we can wash and reuse the kitchen towels too, but they're not as effective as like a delivery package or parcel or storage type of thing. I had given them like a cake stand cake plate over Christmas, and so he's actually been putting a lot of his breads on the counter in the cake plate as well, which is kind of fun, and it looks really nice. I did not follow any sort of specific pattern for this. It's just a regular drawstring bag. I use the selvage edges when possible. Again, I was using scraps, so it was just based on what I had, and I had to be a little creative. But yeah, the top is just folded over. I'm gonna hold it kind of close so you can see there's the selvage edge on there. That's just folded down to create a drawstring channel. And because the fold is along one side, I just have one opening on this side for that drawstring. So instead of like 2 drawstrings on each side, it's just one opening. And yeah, it seems to work out really well. The last finished project I'd like to share with you is back to knitting, and this is the Tolsta Tee by Crea Bea Designs. Here it is. Oh, I love it. So this is a raglan T, and I did make some modifications to it, but the pattern is so easy to customize because it is a basic raglan pattern, and it includes actually a lot of the tips for different modifications, which I love. It's like tweaking recipes basically. And I used the yarn by Pearl Soho Plein Air. It is a new base, 67% merino, 33% organically grown cotton, and it is 218 yards for 100 grams. The colorways I used here are Rolled Oats, which is the main color, Pencil Mark, which is this charcoaly gray, or graphite gray, shall I say, and then this darker teal. I will say that the colors are darker than they look in the stock images on the website on my computer screen. Everybody's computer screens are calibrated differently, but I do feel like the colors in person are darker. And the Rolled Oats color, I was expecting to be a little creamier, a little lighter, and it's more taupe for sure. So I decided to knit mine elbow length sleeves. I did go down a needle size, and I still met gauge. I feel like with with plant blended fibers, my tension just is different. It just feels different, and I feel like the yarn behaves differently. I'm still exploring these different plant fiber blends, and so I don't feel like I have as good of a prediction as to how the fabric will come out because I'm just not as familiar and don't have as much experience. But this fabric did block out beautifully. It is very drapey. It is super soft. I feel like this comes out slightly velvety feeling. I don't know if it'll pill at all. I don't have that information for you because I just finished it and it's my first garment out of this yarn. I believe I have the yarn and the ball bands here. And so I will show that to you so you can see them in their cake form. So the one on top is Rolled Oat. The one in the middle is Teal Verdigris. And the bottom one is Pencil Mark. I kind of match my crochet blanket on the couch here. But yes, I really like how these neutrals have played together. I think they are just so beautiful. The amount of yarn I used was 242 grams of the main color and about 19 grams of each of the contrast colors. You know what? Maybe I'll put it on so that you can see what it looks like. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Here it is. I love how it feels. It is so soft. There is zero itch factor. Now, again, I just finished this, so I can't tell you how it feels, if I feel slightly warmer, like if I'm sweating, if it's going to feel prickly, no idea. Again, it's a cotton merino blend, and it's my first time trying something that's a cotton merino blend. It is so soft and so comfortable, and I knit it at a larger gauge than recommended per the website. So I used a US 5 for the neckline, and then a US 7 for the rest of the fabric. And I did get gauge. I mean, I did block it out wider, but we'll see how it behaves after it's worn for a little bit. I feel like a lot of yarns, you know, no matter how you block it, the fabric will settle to how it kind of wants to be. So I'm not sure how that will be, but gauge for the pattern is 17 stitches by 27 rounds. I would not have guessed that I could get to 17 stitches on a US 7 with this yarn, but I did. And it was really comfortable to knit with. I did not have any hand pain. I know sometimes people will have hand pain when they are knitting with cotton fiber yarn, things like that, but I didn't notice anything. So for the pattern, I believe the yarn or the needle size recommended is a US 8. And I think I typically would have gone to a US 8 or even US 9 if I were using a full wool blend or wool yarn, because I feel like that has the tendency to cinch back up. But with this one, for some reason, it seemed fine on a US 7. So I did knit it to full length. I believe this is the length in the pattern. I did 10 rounds of the main color between 2 rounds each of the contrast colors. And I didn't start the striping until after I split for sleeves because I did not feel like doing striped sleeves. The short row shaping, I felt like is done really nicely in the raglan, and I did end up having to put in elastic thread for the neckline because even after I steam blocked it, not even wet blocked yet, it really stretched out. And I didn't want a super wide neckline because I felt like over time it was just going to keep stretching. Granted, my sleeves are only elbow length, so that there's no like extra weight that should be pulling down on the neckline a lot. So I'll just see how it goes. I did end up wet blocking it with the elastic thread still threaded through. Let's see if you can see it. Otherwise, I will share a picture on the screen of before and after threading in that elastic thread. I can't feel it at all, which is nice. And it's my first time using elastic thread on a garment. I've heard lots of people do it. I never tried it, never had to, but this time I felt like it was maybe worth trying because I just didn't know how it would continue stretching, especially after the wet blocking and just with wear. And I really like how it sits right now. And for anybody who finds the neckline on this particular pattern, or really any pattern, too wide, I suggest giving it a try. I think there are lots of tutorials online, so you can just search for elastic thread and knit neckband or something like that maybe. But yeah, I just went through like one leg, on like the right leg of the V on the inside, and I did 3 rounds of it. And yeah, just to keep it more even, because if you just do one, it could end up kind of puckering or just looking uneven. So I just did 3 rows of it, and I think it looks really nice. So we'll see how it wears over time. I'm very curious to see if it's going to pill or be super fuzzy, but so far, I have to say I really, really like it, and I would consider ordering more of this yarn to knit more sweaters. I was even thinking of one of the line of like pink yarns for knitting a ranunculus, like a spring version of a ranunculus, and I think that would be so beautiful. I don't know, I'm thinking about it. This yarn is very round, and it seems to kind of floof up post blocking, and I don't feel like it's not very airy. I don't know if that's probably the cotton. I don't know. I wouldn't consider it dense, but like compared to some of the other yarns where it like really floofs up being super lofty, I wouldn't necessarily put it in that category. And the roundness of it though, I think lends itself to texture. So I feel like it could look really good in cables. Again, I don't know because it's my first time knitting with it. Cables, lace, texture, I just feel like it could look really good like that. So I don't know, we'll see. I'm thinking about it, but I want to test this out first and see how it wears and then kind of go from there. Because I feel like right after you make something, if it fits really good, it feels really good, you're kind of in that honeymoon phase and it's like, oh, this is my favorite thing ever. But then I want to wear it for like weeks and kind of see how it sits and how it feels, and yeah. So really like it. I'm gonna stand up one more time. I feel like it's nice and drapey at this gauge, and it is a good length. My hip bone is up here, so I have it definitely at full length. I think it's 14 inches. Still have to weave in some ends here on the side. I think I have it at 14 inches from the underarm through the bind off. I think I did mention it's knit top down, right? Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else I needed to say about this. I'm just really loving it. We are on to works in progress. I think I have 4 to share with you today. The first one I'm going to share with you, I have housed in this pretty bag. These are scraps of fabric remaining from a dress that I sewed last summer. Something I love about this is the stripes go horizontal and vertical, and I've actually had to join some of the fabric together in order to have it the width that I needed. And so it just blends in seamlessly though. And I just love that. And this back, I think the seam kind of close to the middle, but just the way the stripes all line up or don't line up, it really plays well with the patterning in the fabric. So in here, I have an update on my Musselburgh hat by Isolde Teague. And I don't have all the colors of the yarn with me this time. I shared them last time. So right now I am working on the second half. Okay, here we are. Dun, 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 dun. This project is basically like a vanilla sock on the go. Because once you are not in this crown section where you have to pay a little more attention, the rest is just round and round blissful stockinette, and that is what I love. I enjoy having this project to take on the go, to keep in the car, to keep in my backpack and my purse, and it is something that I can work on while we're playing board games because I don't have to be counting, I don't have to be really looking or processing anything in my brain related to the pattern, and so it is so nice to have on the go. So the colors I have, let's see, I don't have the yarn with me, like the other ball bands with me, so I'm going to pull up my notes here so I can tell you the colorway names. Okay, we'll start here. We've got this heathered gray denim, they're all heathered, and then aquamarine blue. The aquamarine blue, I'm going to show you more closely in the second half of the hat because the heathering in this one has more dimension than the other ones, which is also why I chose it as the solid in the second half of the hat, but I'll talk about it when we get there. And then we have this beautiful Kelly green called Green Veil. And then a light neutral gray called Ash Gray. And then this pinky purple called Wild Orchid, and then this neon coral called Pink Guava, and then back to the gray denim. So for these I did rounds of 8, and then my sequence has 6 colors. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then once I repeated that twice of 8 round stripes, I did a set of 4 round stripes and then repeated that gray denim on the bottom before switching over to aquamarine blue. Now this blue is very tealy blue, but it has heathering of purple and it is so beautiful. I'm not sure how well it'll show up on camera, but it is really pretty in person. And so I am knitting mine longer than the pattern states for the size because I like a very thick folded brim to fully cover the ears, and plus when my hair is in a bun, it takes up extra space in the back, and so I like full coverage on my hats. And I am probably 75–80% of the way through. And I plan on having it folded in half between the stripes and the solid section. And then that way when it's folded up, mimic what it'll look like. If I have the stripe side up, it should have a brim that is solid. And then if I have the solid side on the outside, which is going to be a little trickier to show you because the top isn't done yet, but then I should have those thinner stripes. We'll just pretend this top part is blue. We should have the thinner stripes fold up as the brim. I think this is going to be so much fun to wear. I am really excited about it. Again, I called this project Cloudy with a Chance of Stripes. This is knit up in Purl Soho's Quartz Space, which is a fingering weight yarn that comes in 420 yards for 100 grams, 65% merino, 35% Surrey alpaca. It is super soft. I really love it. It is very, very drapey, has a great halo, seems to wear well. I have not worn it in a garment yet, so I can't tell you if it pills. I've only had it in accessories, and the accessories that I have knit it with don't get a lot of friction, and so I don't really have it tested out for pilling. What is the word I'm looking for? Pill risk? No, that's not the word I'm looking for. pilling potential. There you go. Pilling potential. I have not tested out its pilling potential. And yeah, so far I just really like it. It is super drapey. So if you're looking for something with more structure, I would say this is not it. In general, yarns that have alpaca blended into them, in my experience, have not had a lot of structure. They tend to be more drapey, which is wonderful for shawls. And in this instance, for a hat that I don't need a lot of structure in. And yeah, I just really, really like it. And I'm hoping one day to actually knit a stripy sweater with this quartz base. I'm thinking about holding it double, so it's DK weight, but that might be too warm. I haven't decided because it's merino and Surrey alpaca. If I hold the yarn double, DK weight in that, I mean, it'll be really, really nice, but I also don't know if it'll end up feeling heavy because it'll be so drapey. I'm not really quite sure. So we'll see where I go with that, but I do have a plan in mind. It may be something in the fall, in the winter. I don't even know, but I have an idea, so stay tuned. The next work in progress I'm going to just share with you briefly is my test for Tiffany Lynn. It is the Woodhaven pullover. It comes out in March, and I am on the sleeve section. With this one, I am using Linen Quill by Pearl Soho held double. It is a fingering weight yarn, and I am using 3 different colorways. One is Rose Granite, one is Baked Earth, and one is Butterscotch Yellow. So here we go. Here are the 3 colorways. This one is Rose Granite. It's kind of a pinky lavender gray color. And then the middle one is a neutral peachy color. That's Baked Earth. And then the yellow orange color is Butterscotch Yellow. They all have some heathering to it because the linen takes up dye differently than animal fibers. And I love the subtle marl that I'm getting with the warmer colors. And here we go. Trying not to have things tangled here. I have a lot of yarn coming off of this. Here we go. Oh, I'm so excited. I really love how this is looking. I'm on the sleeves. I like to knit my sleeves in tandem on their own needles. So that is what I am doing here. I'm going to hold it a little bit closer up, so hopefully you can see the subtle marling in the main fabric. I really like how it looks. I have tried it on and it fits really well. The neckline shaping is really well done. I don't feel like it is going up too close on my neck or falling off my shoulders at all. I just am so delighted by this. And I'm really excited to wear it. I have knit the full length version, so it will be easy to wear with anything. And yeah, the next time you see this will probably be after the pattern releases. And I don't have the other test to share with you today, which is one I'm doing for Samantha Guerin. That's the Salty Air sweater, so you'll probably see that also in March. The next project I'm going to share with you today is knit out of my February 2024 Farmer's Daughter Fiber Sock Squad sock set. And I will flash pictures here on the screen of the inspiration illustration, and I will show you what I've got. I am so excited about this one. I have knit this pattern 3 times, and all 3 times I have used Farmer's Daughter Fiber Sock Squad yarn for this pattern, and I've knit it slightly different every time. And that's so much fun to me because I'm already familiar with the pattern, so I know what I'm getting myself into, and then I can just tweak things here and there however way I feel like it. And it's so much fun. Here is this the yarn? Yeah, here it is. Here is the yarn label. And here is one of the colorways. It's called Amethyst. This is a light fingering weight yarn at 231 yards for 50 grams. So this month, what is fun is you actually end up with 3 colors. You have 250 grams of yarn plus a 20 gram, and mine are already all divided up. So again, because I knit my socks in tandem. The pattern I'm using is the Midwinter Socks by Summerly Designs. And in that pattern, there are 3 different versions. And so I'm knitting the 3rd version, which is the same one I've knit all the other times. And it has this floral motif, and it does use, well, I think the pattern itself uses 2 colors, but you can easily use more colors if you want to, and so that's what I've done. And I'm going to show you the yarn colors carefully without disturbing my project here, hopefully. Okay, this kind of wheat, muddy-ish yellow, brownish yellow is citrine, and it's all gemstones this month. And then we've got amethyst, which is like a dusty lavender. And then this is the mini, which is like an aqua color, which is not named. And so the purple and the yellow have pretty low contrast, but the aqua is much brighter. And so what I've decided to do, this is a color work sock, is I've decided to use the yellow as kind of a side accent color, and then for the color work use the aqua. And because I've knit this pair of socks before using the same base, I know how far my yardage will go, and that helps a ton because it's cutting it very close. Here we go. These are knit cuff down. I have changed up the cuff to follow my peekaboo cuff recipe, which I have linked here on YouTube. Basically, you start with a contrast color, and then you knit more than half the rounds that you would knit on the other side, so that when you fold it in half, you have that color peeking out from the top. And then you knit it to the cast on edge. And then you keep going. So it creates this nice, very tidy cuff. And then I followed the color work chart. I think the blue is standing out very nicely. And then this green yarn here I have put in for my forethought heel. I don't usually knit forethought or afterthought heels very often. And I could have subbed in a short row heel if I wanted to, because it would not interrupt the color work patterning, but I just thought I would change things up a little bit. So I will actually pick up for the heel probably after I do a few more repeats in the foot. That way I can try on the sock and know exactly how long I need my foot to be with the heel already done. So I'm going to knit the heel in the citrine colorway. And I also plan to knit the toes in the citrine colorway. And I should finish with enough for the purple and the aqua color. So I'm really excited with how these are turning out. I am knitting them on 9-inch circular needles, which I enjoy knitting stockinette socks with, including colorwork socks. There are no ladders, there's no weird floats that I have to work around because it just goes round and round. So yeah, I'm really happy with how these are turning out. I have done a steam block just to make sure that my color work comes out nice and smooth, and I really like how the fabric is looking. It is nice and smooth. There's zero puckering. I'm going to show you the inside. I feel like all the inside yarns look like they have been tensioned really well. Nothing is pulling or looking like it's too loose where it would catch. So yeah, very happy with how these are going. Plan to have these done by the end of February. So they will be done by the time I talk to you next time. The last work in progress I'm going to share with you today is in my second bag by Tanny Casey. And I had mentioned previously that I had purchased 2 bags by her in December for Christmas for myself. And I think these bags are so cool. So I'm going to share with you. Here's my second one. The front vinyl section is glittery. And the fabric on this one is navy, cream, and brown and greens. They remind me of like vanilla orchids. And then there's this really cute brown binding that looks like springtime to me. And it stands up on its own, and there's a zipper, a wide open zipper top. And I know she's currently sold out of these, and because they are so much work to piece together, she does not envision herself making any of these anytime soon, and I'm just so glad I snagged one because yes, this is a lot of work. There's so many moving parts to it to put together. I am on a mission to fill my husband's sock drawer full of hand knit socks, And this is the third pair that I am knitting him for the year so far. My plan is to have 12 done by the end of the year, averaging one per month. Some months I may knit more than one, and some months I might not knit any. And so the plan is just to have it averaged out one per month. Now this yarn we picked up, actually at the same place we picked up the yarn that my daughters had picked out for their Valentine's Day socks. And this is yarn dyed by 3 Irish girls, which is local to Minnesota. And again, we picked this up at a local to Minnesota yarn shop, which makes it extra special. And the yarn colorway is Lake Superior Agate, which is also super special to us. And this is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon blend. And I am knitting my husband a pair of socks with this yarn. It is not a surprise. He picked out the yarn. And I just love it. I really enjoy knitting socks with like highly variegated yarns because you never know what it's going to look like. I mean, you can guess, but you don't really know what it looks like until you start knitting it. And there's just something about it, and I just love it. So I have my yarn caked up into 2 cakes. It is this beautiful, rich, rusty red and navy, and they just blend really nicely together. It's like earthy and moody. The progress keepers I have on here are 2 little gourds that are made by my friend Maria of Forest Charm on Etsy. I thought it matched really well. And here are the start of my socks. Oh, they are so cool and they are super soft. So I have done 64 stitches, Old Norwegian cast on, knit 2, purl 2 ribbing. I did 25 rounds of ribbing, and then I'm just going round and round stockinette. I'm using 9-inch circulars, US 1, 2.25 needles. I love how these colors are knitting up. It is so cool. They do remind me of agates, and I love it. I really, really love it. So hopefully these will be done by the end of the month, but if they aren't, that's okay. These are the socks that I knit on while I am reading. I missed one more work in progress. I had brought the bag down, but I did not write it down in my notebook, so I forgot that I had one more. I had started this back in the fall of last year, and then it stalled for a little bit because it is something that I have to think more on, but now I don't have to think as much on it, so it is picking up speed again. This is a sweater that I'm knitting for our 2nd grader, and I am using a recipe out of the Strange Brew book by Tin Can Knits. I highly recommend this book if you are interested in colorwork sweaters and interested in creating your own pattern for a sweater, because it gives you bottom up and top down numbers. So as long as you have the numbers, you can really run with it and use it as a canvas to paint up whatever design you want to. And I think it's really well written. And again, it has the full range of sizes like Tin Can Knits always does. The yarn I'm using is Knit Picks Swish DK. Here is the main color. This is Karma Heather. It is a beautiful purple that has some heathering to it. It is very vibrant and it is super soft, and it is 100% superwash merino. It comes in 123 yards for 50 grams. I like that it comes in 50 grams because then you can buy it more closely to the yardage that you need and not necessarily have a ton left over. It is 100% fine superwash merino wool. My contrast colors, I have this stroll fingering weight that I'm holding double. It is highlighter yellow, and yes, it is as bright as it looks on the screen. I don't know if they still carry this colorway. I've had it for a while, and it is that perfect pop of color whenever you need some highlighter yellow. And then my other contrast color Oh, I don't know if I have the tag in here. Is this one it? Nope, that says Karma Heather. Haze Heather, I think, is this lavender. So this one is also Knit Picks Swish DK. So let me hold them together so you can see the yarns together. This looks so good. I am so excited about this. So I created the patterning for this top section and I love how it looks. A lot of the necklines in the Tin Can Knits patterns looked really wide, and so I decided to do a fold over collar, which basically all you do is you knit the ribbing to at least double the length that you want it to show up as. I do it a little bit more because I feel like the fold takes up like 1/4 of an inch. And then I knit it to my cast on edge. I've had lots of people ask me how I do it. It's the same thing as my socks where I do that peekaboo fold over cuff. Exactly the same method, just with ribbing and on a bigger scale. And so if you are curious how that looks, I would just look at that tutorial and then change it for a sweater. And you could do your sweater without ribbing too, but I haven't done that. So you can if you want to. Try it. And so yes, I feel like it gives a very tidy look and it is much more stable. And if I needed to cinch it up even more, I could thread elastic through and it would be hidden because it's basically a casing. So I started out casting on for the 6 to 8 year old size. And then I was worried that by the time I finished it, that it would be only like just right and would only fit for a season. And then so after I finished the color work section, I did more increases to get it to the 8 to 10 year old size. And so I feel like the top part will still fit fine, but it will then have more ease starting in this body section. I don't know why I'm holding it up to myself because it's for my child, not for me. But I think it just lets you see it better. The sleeves are on hold on short cables. And I figured once I finished with this bit of yarn here on the body, I was going to pick up and knit the sleeves. So I'm going to knit the sleeves to probably the 8 to 10 year old size, and then maybe knit the cuffs slightly longer so that she can have them folded up while it's still a little big, and then hopefully she gets to wear this for a couple of years and then she can unfold that cuff when she wants it longer, or it can end up being like bracelet length. But I'm planning on knitting the body pretty long. There are short rows written into this pattern. It is done after the color work and before you separate for sleeves. And I don't know if she's seen it. I feel like she might have caught a glimpse of it. Oops, the book. I feel like she might have caught a glimpse of it when I first started working on it, but I feel like she must have forgotten about it because she hasn't asked. So I don't know if she's seen it or not. I can't remember. The plan is to have it done so I can gift it to her when the next school year starts. I'm not gonna have it wait all the way to Christmas because then she won't have as much opportunity to wear it. So as long as I can have it done throughout the summer, then she can have it at the beginning of the school year. I usually like to knit my kids like beginning of the school year socks. Sometimes it's a sweater, kind of just depends on how things line up. My older one got a sweater in like September, October-ish. I think I finished it. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see when this one gets done. So that sweater, I have the neckline knit on US 4, which is 3.5mm needles, and then the body of it is knit on US 6, which are 4mm needles, and it is a DK weight sweater. Okay, we have made it to the Eats and Reads section. I think I'm going to work on my hat here while we chit chat. I have had quite a bit of baking and cooking going on. I haven't made note of all of the different things that I made. I know I made like a kimchi and tofu fried rice. So this kind of leads into some experimentation we've been doing with different flours. So then that spurred me to make milk bread with 2 different flours to see if we could tell the difference. So I made them on the same day to lessen the number of variables, and I did one with unbleached all-purpose flour by King Arthur, which is 11.7% protein, and then I used one from, I don't know what the brand is, I just got a bag from my brother, that was high gluten flour that had, I think, somewhere between 13 and 14% protein. And I made the bread, and hopefully there will be pictures on the screen so you can see the process of it. And it turned out really well, and it was so good, and there was definitely a difference. I could feel a little bit of a difference when I was shaping the dough, but I wasn't sure if I was imagining it. And then when we ate it, on first bite, you're kind of like, I'm not really quite sure what I'm looking for. And then as you eat more of it, you can tell. Like the all-purpose one, the crumb tastes drier and almost stale compared to the one that was high protein or higher protein. And the higher gluten one had more of a elasticity. It tasted almost sweeter, and it just had more of a pull, it just kind of had a little more bounce to it. And yeah, it was really good. It was fun. I gave it to my kids to try to see if they could tell a difference. They were like, kind of, I don't know. But they ate it all and they said it was all really good. So that's good enough for me. So then I made more loaves to bring to our Lunar New Year's feast with my family. And I had made one that was supposed to have a matcha swirl, but the green didn't come out very well. So you kind of had to use your imagination a little bit to see the green, but it was still very tasty. And then with leftovers, the next day I made French toast with the milk bread, and that was delicious. Oh, I made spring rolls, and this time I made them without any chicken. I had bamboo shoots, mung bean noodles, napa cabbage, bok choy, carrots, sesame oil, oyster sauce, white pepper, and I used 7.5-inch wrappers. And then this time I baked, which was nice because then I could bake like 40 at once. Or I think I only fit like 36 on the tray, and then I had to do one more tray. I wanted them to have enough air around them so that they could crisp more evenly. And yeah, it worked out really well. These spring rolls are based off a recipe by Christina Cho. And I changed up the fillings, but the method was the same. So I will link to that in the description box below the video. They also freeze well and can just be reheated in like a toaster oven or the oven the next day. I suppose you could microwave them too, but then they wouldn't be crispy. They would just, they'd be warm, but they wouldn't be crispy. Okay, let's move on to books. I just finished the second book of the Daevabad trilogy. The second book is The Kingdom of Copper, and it is a trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. The second book was 621 pages. It was published in 2019. The second book, I felt like, was even better than the first book, and I thought the first book was really good. The setting, I believe, is in the 18th century Middle East, and one of the locations is Cairo, Egypt, but there's also this magical kingdom. And I really like how the chapters cycle through different points of view. Now, I've noticed that I prefer books, if they're going to be switching chapters around, I prefer changing of points of view over the changing of like time, time periods, time. I don't like it when books jump back and forth in time to like pull up memories and show like what happened in the past or what's going to happen 2 months later, and then you jump back and forth. I don't like how that feels for me reading. And when it's different points of view though, I really like that because it's still centered around the same event at the time in the book, but just going through the different characters. And that I really, really like. And so that's what this book does. And I think I mentioned last time a little overview. So there's a lot of adventure, there's a lot of action. It is epic fantasy fiction, and it is based on Middle Eastern mythology. I think it also classifies into historical fiction. There's a lot of looking at who's on what side, good versus evil. There are lines blurred, there's family betrayal, there's political intrigue, there's double crossing, there's magic, it's sci-fi, it goes into like complicated internal struggles for the different characters. I feel like the world and the characters are developed really, really well, and the description of the settings, it's so lush and so real and plays to all the senses. Like I can see it, I can feel it, I can smell it. It's so good. I really am enjoying the writing. I have started the third book, and I'm also enjoying that. Because there are a lot of potential triggers in the book, I would look that up ahead of time if you are someone that is sensitive to certain content. That way you know what you're getting yourself into. It can be very intense, so there are times where I definitely had to put the book down for a little bit, but I have found it to be a really, really good read. I'm really enjoying it. The other book that I am reading right now is book 2 of a duology by Rebecca Ross. It's the Letters of Enchantment duology, and the second book is Ruthless Vows. I am loving it, and I believe I have to return it to the library in a week, so I gotta get that done. It is fantasy, romance, fiction, and this second book is 432 pages. It was published December 2023. I can't remember if it's classified as adult or just older young adult, but the characters are in their like early 20s, I think late teens, early 20s maybe, and the setting, I want to say, is 1800s, late 1800s? I feel like there was a letter in there that had a date, and right now I'm not remembering exactly when that year was, but I feel like it was late 1800s and based in like Europe, and I even want to say maybe London, but I don't know for sure. You know, when there are these like magical realms and stuff, it kind of blurs some lines and you're not sure if it's supposed to be based on like a real location or not, or if it's, anyway. I'm loving it. It is heartfelt. There are friendships. There is romance. There is betrayal. There's risk. There's danger. Yeah, I'm really liking it. I feel like it's got some similar, well, it also has war going on, similar to the Daevabad trilogy, but I feel like the writing style is very different and it feels a little less intense maybe. And there's still the feel of like threat and high risk, but not, for some reason, not to the extent of the trilogy. It's different. I feel like if you're looking for something slightly less intense, The Letters of Enchantment is a great duology. But if you are up for like the epic fantasy, high stakes, then the trilogy might be something you might be interested in reading. On to food for thought. I do have a question for you today, should you choose to answer it. This is never mandatory. It is something to think about if you want to think about it, if you care to share. My question to you is, what or who makes you feel alive, and what does that mean to you? I was thinking about it because first, you know, in February, everybody's talking about Valentine's Day and love in all different ways. So at first I was thinking, well, maybe someone cares to share a love story. I love love stories. And this is not just romantic love. This could be like friendship or family or found family. It could be a special place you just love. It could be a dream, a memory, a yarn, a color, anything really. There's so much you can love. And so if you want to, share a love story, and yeah, I would love to hear it. And the other question, if you don't want to share a love story, is what makes you feel alive? What or who makes you feel alive? And that in itself is a sensation that I feel like can be similar to love. When you feel love, what does it mean? Like, I feel like it's cozy, it's secure, it's trust, it's safe, it's comfort. But yeah, so many things that kind of go around that word. But yeah, I hope you are doing well. I hope you are taking good care of yourselves, your loved ones, and your neighbors. Cheers to being creative, and I will talk to you next time.